Hello there. It is the end of the school year. I'm officially on summer break, and someone has been to Charlotte Running Company. Full disclosure, I made this purchase with my own money, but it was severely discounted due to some gift cards and some other things. So all of these opinions are still my own. Yeah, I guess that's how disclosures work, right? All right, so what do I have in the box? Saucony Endorphin Speed 4. There's the 4 right there. So I can't wait to get these guys on the road. I did try on both the Speed 4 and the Endorphin Pro 4 in the store, and the Endorphin Pro 4 had a lot of pop to them as well. And I really thought about picking those up, but I still have a couple of pairs of Pro 3 with quite a few miles left in their lifespan, and I was thinking, is the Pro 4 really $55 in the Speed 4? And I thought it would probably, what I really need is more of a long run shoe / workout shoe rather than yet another carbon plated racer. So I'm going to be testing out the Endorphin Speed 4 and putting some miles on it. And I already have some shoes planned for a shoe off against this guy, which I can't wait to do. Got some races coming up, so it might be a little bit before I can get a good shoe talk together for us. But yeah, excited. Happy summer. Right, so I am about to go for my first run in the Saucony Endorphin Speed 4, and just want to speak to the fit a little bit. This is, well, for my foot, for my size at least, one of the best fitting shoes I've tried on in a long time. It's just the lockdown was, I haven't had to mess with anything. I've got really kind of my perfect thumb width there. I'm a men's US 9.5, and I got these true to size. And the laces are a little bit stretchy, and the upper is very trainer-y. But yeah, it just seems to lock down, not move at all. It feels very secure, and I feel like I'm getting the most out of the midsole from the lockdown. It just feels secure. Before I put the Speed 3 on for comparison, I just, want you to see I don't have a particularly weird shaped foot or anything, kind of average shaped foot, not too wide, not too narrow. And I wear toe socks so I let my toes splay. Got plenty of room in the forefoot. Okay, so fit versus the Endorphin Speed 3. I've got the Speed 4 on the right foot, and I have the Speed 3 on the left foot. And I think they both fit really well. I think my foot kind of moves around a little bit more in the Speed 3, and in the Pro 4 not so much. And it might be because of that. It might be because of the new sock liner in the Speed 4 that my foot just doesn't move around as much. It kind of just feels more secure. Both of them are really well-fitting shoes. I just feel like the Speed 4 disappears in my foot a little bit more. So it's got that going for it. Hey Con, what do you think? All right, here's all the shoes I have lined up for the eventual shoe off. Here is the new guy, the Saucony Endorphin Speed 4. I'm of course going to test it against the Endorphin Speed 3, its direct predecessor, but here are the other contenders here. The Hoka Mach X, which is similar price point, also a plastic plated super trainer. The Saucony Endorphin Pro 3, one of my pairs that still has a lot of miles left, just because I don't have the Pro 4, but I'm going to compare it against the Pro 3. The Asics Superblast, which does not have a plate like the others in this list, well, most of the others, but it is what I still consider to be firmly a super shoe, a super trainer. Then there is the Adidas Adizero Boston 12, which doesn't have a plate, but it does have those glass fiber, ooh, there's something on the bottom there. It does have those glass fiber rods there. The Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 2, which, like the Endorphin Pro 3, is a racer that I kind of use as a super trainer, just because it's not really as high a caliber as the other racers up there. And then they have the New Balance SC Fuel Cell SC Trainer V2, which admittedly is not my favorite super trainer, but it's still a good shoe, and it's definitely in the same category, and I can't not compare it if I own it. All right, so we'll see what happens. Something has Khan's attention. Khan, what is it, buddy? What is it? Which one do you think I'm gonna like the best? All right. All right, I'm here on the beautiful Davidson campus for this shoe off, and I'm gonna start off with the Hoka Mach X on the right foot, and the Endorphin Speed 4 is what I'm testing against everything, of course. Here we go. So the Mach X feels like it has a similar level of lockdown to the Endorphin Speed 4, maybe even a little more snug because of that jacquard mesh upper. If I'm landing on the forefoot, then they have similar levels of bounce, but if I'm landing more to the midfoot, especially the proximal midfoot, the Speed 4 has a bit more energy return, because the further you go back in the Mach X, the more you're kind of sitting within that EVA carrier foam. I would think that the Mach X is more shoe, but the Speed 4 has more bounce to it. All right, so now I have the Endorphin Pro 3 on my right foot and the Endorphin Speed 4. Okay, so the main difference between the Endorphin Speed and the Endorphin Pro, no matter which iteration you're talking about, is the carbon plate in the Pro versus the nylon plate in the Speed. The Endorphin Speed series is unique among super trainers in that its entire midsole is PIBA, whereas most other super trainers have a combination of PIBA and EVA, or another kind of super foam like a TPE and EVA. So it's really the plate and the upper that's the main difference. But even the weight is not too terribly different. So you really have to make a case for really wanting that carbon plate versus the nylon plate. Also, the Endorphin Pro 3 at the making of this video is on sale. So it's really, I think, going to be the main competitor to the Endorphin Speed 4 as far as a training tool. But, well, I'll save the rest for the shoe talk as far as talking about these two versus one another. All right, I have the Asics Superblast on my right foot and the Endorphin Speed 4 on my left foot. And this will be interesting to say the least, because I can definitely tell the difference in stack heights. So it just usually works out when I do these shoe offs that it ends up being a double after I've already run some miles with people. So I already have some miles on my legs. I did an 11-mile run a little bit earlier, and I'm doing this double now. Reason I'm saying that is because both of these shoes, really all of these shoes, these super trainers, I kind of see as long run shoes, where I expect to be able to spend a lot of time in them, maybe do some pace, but I'm seeing how they are on tired legs. By the end of the day, I will have 14 to 15 miles, and I did a pretty hard workout yesterday. So these two shoes, the Superblast and the Endorphin Speed 4. They seem to do really well on tired legs for different reasons. The Speed 4, you definitely get some pop from the PIBA, but some support from the nylon plate without it being overly rigid like a carbon plate. The Superblast definitely get the same, but from the nylon midsole. Let me continue that. There was a college tour group going by, but I get that nylon midsole from the Flight Foam Turbo. You don't need a plate in there because that Flight Foam Turbo is pretty stiff enough with enough energy return with that big stack that you get a similar effect without any plate, but from a higher stack shoe. Which one would I want to take for a long run? I don't know. I guess it would depend on my mood that day. But the Endorphin Speed seems a little more dynamic. Yeah. All right, so now on my left foot, I have the Boston 12. On my right foot, I have the Speed 4. It's starting to get a bit warm, so I had to lose the shirt. Let's get through the rest of these. Let's go. So immediately, the lockdown is very different. The Saucony Endorphin Speed 4, I just get an out-of-the-box lockdown that is great for a trainer. I talked about how well it fits. The Boston 12, the Adidas uppers, at least this year, it's not a good lockdown. Midsole differences. I feel like I can feel the rods in the Boston, whereas in the Speed 4, I just feel the midsole. I know the plate's there, but I'm not as conscious of the moving parts. So, yeah, I mean, same use case scenario with these two shoes, but I think I'd probably take the Speed 4 over the Boston unless it was raining, because hashtag continental rubber. Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 2 versus the Saucony Endorphin Speed 4. So the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 2, much like the Endorphin Pro 3, is in a different class of shoe than the Endorphin Speed 4 because it is a carbon plated racer, but it's one that I kind of use as a super trainer and enjoy it for that. I think for that purpose, it's pretty comparable. A little firmer than the Speed 4. Not sure I'd want it as much for a long run, maybe more for a workout. Certainly on mixed terrain or wet terrain. Okay, I switched up the order a bit so I could do the Speed v Speed, last. So right now I am doing the New Balance SC Trainer V2 versus the Saucony Endorphin Speed 4. Let's go. So the New Balance SC Trainer V2 has kind of pitted itself between its previous version, the V1, and the Saucony Endorphin Speed line, because it brought that super stack down to under 40 millimeters. Still has that supercritical EVA TPU foam that's really bouncy. Still has the carbon plate, so it can pick up the pace a little bit more in it, but I still think it's not quite as lithe and nimble as the Speed series. Good for a long run, but if I were going to do a long run with some pace added in, I would probably choose Speed 4 or Speed 3 over the New Balance. Another thing about the SC Trainer when I'm running in it by itself, I don't really think about that channel, that void in the midsole. But when I have it on one foot versus a shoe with a continuous midsole like the Spped 4, I feel like I can really feel that void. I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's just something you're aware of. It doesn't quite disappear on the foot like the Spped does. One last go around, one last half mile. Apples to apples, I have the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3 on the left foot, Saucony Endorphin Speed 4 on the right foot. Let's go. This tour group, I think they're touring the Arboretum. Davidson College is also an Arboretum. They must think I'm crazy seeing me run by as many times as I have. Anyway, Speed 3 versus Speed 4. I guess this is the big question, is should you upgrade or should you get the Speed 3 on sale? And I think I'll answer that question when I do a shoe talk. I do notice some changes, some improvements, and it's whether you think they will be enough to upgrade. You guys know, if you've seen the channel, how highly I value the Speed 3 and really the Endorphin Speed series. And I'll make no secret that the Speed 4 is going to rate pretty highly as well. As far as specific differences between these two, guess we'll find out. We'll call that a wrap. 3 3/4 miles plus my 11.5 this morning. A little over 15 miles on the day. Here's all my shoes lined up. All right, a couple more runs in these bad boys, and then we'll put a shoe talk together. Okay, so it's shoe talk time, and we are talking about the Saucony Endorphin Speed 4. It's very bright out here. I had to do this in the middle of the afternoon. So yeah, sorry if it's too bright. And the big question I left you with is whether you should upgrade from the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3 to the Saucony Endorphin Speed 4. I can't answer that question for you. It all depends on what price you can get the Speed 3 at. As you can tell just from a first glance, a lot of the features are similar, almost the same, even to that, you know, speckled top part of the midsole there and the winged nylon plate there. Now in the 4 you can actually see the nylon plate. Got to tap the plate through the bottom there. The big differences are going to be in the upper and in the outsole. The outsole is a big one, and I think I'll speak to that. I'm not a big fan of the outsole in the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3 or the Pro 3 actually, just because there's not a lot of traction for the amount of rubber that's there, especially if it is wet. I have not had a chance to test the Speed 4 in wet weather yet. We're gonna have great weather for the next few days actually, so I won't get to test it in the wet weather before this video comes out. But on dry pavement, dry asphalt, and dry smooth brick surfaces that I have tested both of these shoes on, this latticed rubber does grab really well. When I had them side by side, I could really tell the surety of the grip of this 4-foot rubber. And you guys know I'm more of a 4-foot striker, 4-foot to distal midfoot striker, sometimes proximal midfoot. So the outsole I would say is an improvement. I would say the upper is an improvement too. Both of these are good uppers, very trainer-y, meaning they're not going to be stripped down like something on a racing shoe or a really lightweight trainer like the Kinvara. But I seem to get a little more comfort and a little more lockdown in the Speed 4. I can move my foot around a little bit more in the Speed 3. Is it enough to warrant the difference in price? I have seen this at some online retailers for $120 US, whereas this, if you're getting it at full price, is $170 US. Is it really a $50 difference? I would say if you're gonna find this for $50 less than this, you can stock up with another pair of the Endorphin Speed 3 instead of going to the Speed 4. And by the time you're done with that, or whatever, however many pairs you can get, you might be able to get the Speed 4 at a discounted price. Now, as far as compared to all the other things that I compared it with, the Mach X is really good when you land on the forefoot, but I would say the Speed 4 beats it in pretty much every category. The Mach X is a little bit more stable, but I think for a 20 miler, and again, I would use both of these as a long run shoe, I would rather reach for the Speed 4. The Endorphin Pro 3, which you can get for a little bit cheaper than the Speed 4 at some online retailers, that might be a real contender against these two. If you don't find the Speed 3, and if you are okay having a carbon plate instead of the nylon plate, a lot of you would see that as a bonus, and want a lighter weight upper, you can grab these before they become dead stock, but you'd still be happy with these. This, by the way, being used as a possible racer, I think would work for most people. Yeah, it really has a trainery upper, but it's not that much heavier than the Pro is, and aside from it being a little bit warmer, yeah, I think you could pick up the pace in this. I did some marathon pace in this and some strides, and it seemed to bounce really well, especially when we talk about the stride. In fact, let me do a different segment and talk about the stride. Ever since ASICS came out with their Metaspeed dual line and got people to think about whether they're a cadence runner or a stride runner, I started experimenting with my cadence and with my stride with certain shoes. And I am a cadence runner. But I found that if I really focused on lengthening my stride in this shoe as I increased my pace, then I would be landing more on the proximal midfoot rather than the distal midfoot, and I ended up using more of the midsole, and it felt just really smooth. It felt really good when I picked up the pace with both my cadence or my stride, but I think those of you who would identify as stride runners might get a little bit of an extra benefit from picking up the pace in the Speed 4. All right, so that's my word on stride. Okay, now comparing the Endorphin Speed 4 to the Boston 12, Adidas Boston 12, I would take the Endorphin Speed 4 every day over the Boston unless it was raining, and that mainly has to do with that wet grip with the hashtag Continental rubber there. But other than that, I'm going to be using these just when I want to beat something up. Yeah, they're a good shoe. They don't spark as much joy as the Endorphin line does to me. Versus the Superblast, I think the Superblast is an amazing shoe, but I don't think it's quite as amazing as the rest of the world tends to think it is. I think I wouldn't pay full price for the Superblast again. We'll see what happens when the Superblast 2 comes. But I think the Endorphin Speed 4 is a bit more dynamic ride and a bit more versatile than the Superblast is. This is a great idea, but yeah, we'll see what happens with the second iteration. And I think I've mentioned that the New Balance SC Trainer is a good long run shoe, maybe a good recovery shoe, but I think the Speed 4 can do everything this can do, but better, in a lighter package, a more comfortable package, and then I don't feel sore from having that carbon plate under me the whole time. This is a really good Swiss Army shoe, the Speed 4 is. And a lot of Swiss Army shoes like the Rebel V4 or the Hoka Mach 6, I think could give the Speed 4 a run for its money in the versatility department. The Kinvara could do that as well, from Saucony to Saucony. But what I think that the Speed 4 can do that the Mach 6 and the Kinvara don't do as well is handle the long run. I think the Endorphin Speed line has always been a good choice to bring on a 2+ hour run, and I still feel like you get that return from the Piva without having to put all those miles on your race day choice. So yeah, solid reviews for me for the Saucony Endorphin Speed 4. To sum it all up, if you can get the Speed 3 at a really good price, stock up on it. But I think the Speed 4 you will enjoy just as much. Some of you may enjoy better. But if you're getting this because the Endorphin Pro 4 is too expensive, then see if you can get the Pro 3. That is, if you want the full carbon racer instead of the trainer. I still think the Speed line in general is more versatile. So that's my review of the Endorphin Speed 4. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share the video, and ding the bell for notifications, and I'll see you on the next run.